Okay, welcome back to another video. Today, if you haven't seen Ages Pros WICSO, this is that, so go watch that if you haven't, because you can still watch this, but, it's just not going to make a lot of sense. But, yeah, in this video, we're going to be seeing, this is right before, World War VI started. We're going to be seeing what would happen if World War VI just did not start, like the alternates just decided to not do anything. They just go to sleep forever. So, yeah. And more specifically, we're going to be looking at Europe and how neo-authoritarianism might... Oh, not there. Continue. So, I'm really bad at saying this. Neo-authoritarianism. We don't... New World Order, I don't really care. Alternate Dominion, I don't really care, because that's not happening. Now that I do care for. Not really economic alliances. Ideology, yes. Capitals, yes. Major cities, yes. How about I merge capitals and major cities? Province, no. Okay, we have all the layers that we need. Obviously not all at once, but yeah. So, we also do not need Antarctica or religion. But neo-authoritarianism is exactly what it sounds like. It's this reborn form of, imperialism. We see that quite a few countries in Europe have adopted it. Now, this does not mean that these countries are all allies. In fact, some of them hate each other. But, yeah. So, we're going to be seeing what would happen if World War VI did not happen, and instead we just had the neo-authoritarians continue to do things. So, looking at military alliances, there are still plenty of countries that these guys could go for. Let's turn that off. So, the main, neo-authoritarian alliance is Russia, Dutch Team, the Russian Puppet State, France, and Andalusia. In fact, I think, the only... Oh no, there's two. But this country is also part of that alliance. So, as well as Tunisia, I guess. That is the main alliance. And other than those 6 countries, Rome is the only other one. So that's interesting. But anyway, these guys have plenty of targets that they could go for. And so they're gonna do that. First of all, the Dutch team, they split up the British Isles previously. And is Galicia? No. But yeah, they split up the British Isles, or I guess in this timeline they're called the Irish Isles, because Ireland was the dominant country here. But yeah. So they're going to take advantage of that, and they're going to continue to conquer some of these little countries, including Wales and Cornwall. Those are the only two they go after for now. So that is theirs now. Now, with World War VI not happening, do remember that the the alternate dominions are actual countries, but the alternate lands, I guess, they are, they have their technology, but by this point, it's, pretty much equally shared with the rest of the countries of the world. Hold on. I had to blow my nose. But, yeah. So, because these countries are pretty equal in terms of technology now, you see that the Dutch team is going to take advantage of that. Because they're much stronger than Doggerland by this point. And so they roll right on into Doggerland from all sides, well, except for this side. And yeah, there's not much Doggerland can really do here. And they will also be fully annexed. Not sure how you would really even show this, but yes. Europe looks very different now. You can take a road trip from the Mediterranean up to Scotland. I think there's a tunnel in real life, so you could probably do that anyway, but, you know what I mean. Anyway, obviously, these guys are starting to get very scary, the Diamond Alliance. And so, some of these countries would very strongly like protection from that. And now there is only now they consider like making their own alliance. These like European countries, where they are that they still would probably lose in a war, like almost definitely lose in a war against these guys. So they're going to be joining an alliance, being the Mesopotamia Unitarian countries. So Rome is the first one to join because they have like pretty good relations with the rest of these countries throughout history. So it just kind of makes sense. Just like, grab that. Oh, there's some pixels here. How come there's two on this side and one on this side? It's very annoying. Yeah, Poland is going to as well because I mean, look at them. They've seen better days. Galicia is also like very scared of France and Andalusia, so they do the same thing. You see that Marmara does it. Ukraine has kind of become like a pretty neutral country ever since like the second Russian Empire. So like the first was the World War III one. This is the third one. Second one was like the one that lost the Black Sea War. But yeah, since then Ukraine has become like a pretty neutral country. However, they are not stupid because obviously they would be one of Russia's next targets and they do not want to get invaded immediately. We also see the pink team joining on this, so that's nice for them. As well as, you see that, no. The remains of Ireland, as well as Scotland, join. And then the Scandinavian countries. Well, I guess this kind of just is Scandinavia, but Norway and Finland, that's what I'm trying to say here. Now, there's still a few countries that did not join this that are right on the border of these guys. And there's a few reasons for that. First of all, Scotland is like really terrified that they're going to get invaded because like they're right on the border of the Dutch team, so that would not be fun for them. So they're going to decide that it is probably better for them to join, to become neo-authoritarian actually, and join the Dutch, or the Diamond Alliance. That's kind of confusing with both of these. We see that the Sea of Azov country for now doesn't border any Diamond Alliance countries, but yeah, so that's why they don't. Eastern Russia feels kind of. I wouldn't be surprised. Russia's probably like very threatening of Eastern Russia. They probably have a bunch of troops like on the border already, so Eastern Russia probably tries to join this, but these guys like. Russia's about to invade them probably, so they don't let them in. And then these two southern countries just kind of don't really care. But maybe they should, because we see that Rome is going to invade this purple country. This is kind of out of nowhere, but Rome is neo-authoritarian, and they want their old land back, which is the Italian peninsula. Rome is significantly stronger than this country, and so they are able to wipe them out pretty easily. And yeah, Rome is really looking good now. Like the Adriatic country. Adriatica, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, the Dutch team now goes and sails up to Iceland and takes it. I don't even know if that's really even a war. It's probably just the annexation. Over here, as to the surprise of literally no one, Russia is going to invade Eastern Russia. However, some of these other countries are going to see this and be like, okay, well, I guess that's an opportunity. And the main one is the pink team, who is going to start invading in as well. Russia is pretty unhappy with this, but they don't really want to try invading the pink team yet. They're definitely not prepared for that right now. This is supposed to be just a small little war. And yeah. All of this happens. And so Eastern Russia is completely obliterated. And they get a new border. With Russia once again being locked out of the Caspian Sea, which is sad for them, but oh well. And now Azov is really regretting their decision, because they get invaded. Anyway, we see another country go to neo-authoritarianism, and it's one that kind of makes sense. The Green Team. Right now, they're a monarchy, but I believe they're the only monarchy in the world. I did forget. These guys are also neo-authoritarian, but like kind of away from the main thing. But we'll get to them later. But yeah, the Green Team is a monarchy, and that's kind of outdated. And so a lot of people don't really like that. And then we go to neo-authoritarianism, which is really just monarchy, but with a different name. I mean, really, the old king is still in power, and his son is still the heir to the throne. So, yeah. Anyway, with them being neo-authoritarian, they are also going to join the Neo-Authoritarian Alliance and start doing their neo-authoritarian things. So, if we turn on the major cities, we see that they're going to go ahead and invade this like South Caspian one. I mean, there can't be two green Caspian countries, can there? So they start going down around this lake and take this city, cut down to this one, and now there's a big open field. So this is like the bloodiest area of the war, as they're going to have to like push down through all these rows of troops. But finally, they make it to the capital. And after spearheading down here and taking all three of these cities, we then see that this country is going to capitulate. And they will now be annexed by Green Team. I've not really been doing capitals, and I will not be doing that, because that would be annoying. But yeah, the Green Team has a new country under their control. And now they're going to go for another one, which is this purple country. And yeah, these guys are instantly wiped out. And goodbye. There's some weird little pixels here, but oh well. And you know what, just for you, well, I guess I can do the capitals. Bam. There you go. Happy now. You better be. And yeah, this country also. A few countries. But yeah. Okay, that's all the capitals I'm doing. Anyway. Now to finally turn over to Asia. Now we have another two neo-authoritarian countries, and just like, you know, the Diamonds and the Rome, these guys, even though they're both neo-authoritarian, do not like each other. Now, just to be clear. Good, I'm not forgetting anyone, I don't think. Wait, is this country? Wait, no, that's communism. I'm a little bit stupid. Okay, but yeah, these guys are communist, not neo-authoritarian. But this Chinese country is. So they like the policy of going after old land. And so, and that's what they, not because that's what these guys have been doing. And so they're going to take a page out of their book, and they are going to invade this blue country. Because this country was formerly theirs, but then it got spit out after World War V, and they want it back. It has literally one city, which is its capital. So this war is going very quickly. And now, obviously, the Chinese, like, getting pretty happy, because it's just an easy little land grab for them. But we see that South China is going to go ahead and start doing the same thing. This is mostly to hinder the expansion of green China. Hideous color. And yeah. So, green China was not expecting this at all. And once these troops meet each other, they start getting pretty angry at each other, because they think, because these guys don't like these guys because they're invading an innocent country. And these guys don't like these guys because they're saying that they're stealing their land. And so the troops get into a little argument here, and yeah. We see that big old massacre happens here. And now Green China and South China are at war. Amazing. So, unfortunately for South China, their capital is like right here. So Green China obviously starts getting down there at first. But they also do these little spearheads just to capture these major cities right along the border. South China completely kicks them out of this country. And now begins to push up into actual Green China. Because they aren't the original China, they're Green China. they take these two major cities, going over in these like more rural areas, which is good for them, I guess. But Green China is pretty strong. And now Orange China is as well. However, they're just not as strong. They've been a pretty like big like rising power, but like I think they are either like in the top 10 or just below it. I mean, maybe because of this, all of this happening, it's a little bit below, but yeah. So these guys are pretty strong, but just not as strong as this country. So they start getting absolutely obliterated as China starts rolling through their territory. Their capital gets encircled, Taiwan is captured, and things are not looking good as they go completely on the defensive and have to recall all their troops out from here, which allows China to flood on in. So things are not looking too great for Orange China. However, some things are about to change, because neo-authoritarianism is very looked down upon by the Unitarians. Honestly, because it's almost like it's like similar but different, because they are uniting a bunch of different, ethnicities and all that, but not equally, definitely not. So the Unitarians see this as like a big old like corruption of like their ideologies. And over here, Japan is going to decide that they've had enough, and they are going to officially declare war on Green China. And they also, so for their first thing that they do, they go ahead here and liberate Taiwan for Orange China. And this is very surprising. And things are going to get worse for Green China, as we see that Korea is going to also declare war on them. And that really just starts this sort of snowball effect, because now this whole coalition starts forming on them. We have the communist Manchurian country, we have Seafoam Siberia, who, lost some of their land recently to them, so obviously they want that back. We have this thing, Tibet, that's what it's called. We know from what happened in WW6 that they might be secretly a little bit evil, so they probably would like invading the country. Then we see this gold country getting in on it, because why not? So Green China is getting completely coalitioned right now. I would say even Vietnam probably starts supporting Orange China, just to get, probably they join the war in exchange for a little bit of land. Orange China says that they will give, if they join the war, Vietnam. It's pointed to them in real life. It might be stupid. But yeah, they agree to give them this land so that they will join in on the war and help them out here. So Vietnam accepts that, and yeah. See that with fresh Vietnamese troops, because I would assume that Vietnam has a pretty big population, so they have a decent amount of manpower. We see that the capital is unencircled, and now we see a spearhead be made up here. And going off of that spearhead, we have a big old push, which I guess is still a spearhead. But yeah, these three cities get captured, and they're sort of stopped at the gates of these other cities, but still. Japanese Unitaria troops will now be landing over here. And that's not good for these guys, as they now that does not look good for them. Orange China now starts another spearhand. I was questioning if that's what it's actually called. But they do that, and now we see that, you can probably tell what's about to happen here, because these two countries work together, and this big old pocket is encircled. And so all of these troops are killed or captured, and this is a major loss for Green China. Over here, Korea makes a landing over on this peninsula and takes over a lot of it. These guys are pretty weak, but China is not sending any troops up here, so they're able to take over a lot of this cityless land. The cities is where there's some resistance, so they're not able to do that for the most part. And we see that this one gets encircled, so that's good. Tibet is decently strong though, so they might be able to take a couple cities. And then I had to get. Oh man. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, second time is the charm. We see that the original Chinese government is now going to start popping up in pockets with these support. Wait, I just realized it was here the whole time. I didn't even have to like. Okay, well whatever. But yeah, these guys start popping up in pretty big pockets around here, trying to reclaim their old nation. Ring China's advances out here get completely stopped. These guys take that city they encircled, and they now are able to actually take some cities, other than the one that they literally encircled, mainly with the help of Tibet. And yeah, Korea is obviously doing pretty good. They are a pretty strong country. Take over a decent amount of land here, cut these guys in two, and then they get cut into another part, and then another part. And now their capital is encircled by the original Chinese government. These guys over here, I just don't want Korea and Tibet's front lines to border, because then they'll be the same color. But yeah, over here, these guys do their things. Let's make it that. And finally, the neo-authoritarian government of China is overthrown. And with that, the 50 millionth Chinese Civil War is over. And now we get to look at the peace treaty. Okay, I know this looks like this is some severe border gore, but we'll fix it in a minute. So, first of all, we see that reigning neo-authoritarian China is dead, and they have been completely overthrown. We have from Siberia taking over a decent chunk, pretty good chunk of land. We'll give them a little bit more, actually, to, start fixing that border gore issue. Actually, that's not even... I feel like it's worse, over here. But Korea gets a very valuable piece of land. In fact, they will also be getting this little triangle, which comes with 2 whole major cities. And this country becomes very long. You can still kind of see the dog head, but not really. Tibet and the Gold Country get some land. This country gets some land. Japan doesn't actually get any land, but they get a lot of money and stuff. These guys keep their land that they were agreed upon to have. And we see that the original Chinese government is back. However, they are very small and dilapidated. And we see that now the main 2 powers in East Asia are Korea and South China, which is sure to be interesting. Anyway, yeah. I think to fix this, we will just be giving this over to the blue country, maybe. That still looks not great. We could do that, but no. We could do that. I think it's fine like this. Maybe. No, it looks pretty bad, but I don't know what else to do about it. So, with that whole thing happening, the neo-authoritarians up here are pretty afraid. And, yeah, this isn't going to be pretty, because neo-authoritarians are kind of out of land to go for, at least the European ones. I mean, they could go after Crete, but, I mean, that's not going to be that useful, and also how, they're going to have to go all the way around Rome. Well, I guess they have this country, so they could go like that, but they don't really want that at all. So they realized that one target they could definitely go for over here is West Africa or Libya. And now out of those 2 options, Libya is significantly weaker. So that is where we see that these guys are going to be going. Now real quickly, we do see that Egypt joins the 3-point star alliance. Like so. And we see that they are also going to be invading Libya. Now, this is not the rest of the 3-point triangle alliance, or 3-point star alliance. Yeah, 3-point triangle. Real smart. Literally the only way a triangle can be. But anyway, the rest of the 3-point star alliance is like, Egypt, do not do this. but Egypt does it. Because now their whole reason they don't want them to do this is because they just saw this war and how that started. And yeah, so Libya, I mean, they're not making it out of this war. They get completely destroyed. And yeah. So, once this happens, so far there is nothing going on the border here. However, and then to make things even better, I guess, Egypt, just like, they completely leave, there's no aggression for them. But over here, these guys they're getting a little rowdy, because they have most of Libya just stolen from them, and they want it back. And so, since the Egyptian military just left here, they are going to see it as okay to go on and invade some of this country. Now, while the Egyptian military has left, there is some Egyptian civilians still here. Well, there's some like soldiers here who have been injured and resting here and all that. The soldiers here mistake this as them like being actually aggressive. So we see a big old battle is going to ensue between like the wounded Egyptian soldiers and the good soldiers of Tunisia. So obviously Tunisia wins the battle, but obviously Egypt's not really gonna like that here. And yeah, then that's an active war, and the Diamond Alliance and the 3-Star Alliance, 3-Point Star Alliance, are officially at war now. So that's fun. And yeah, this is, I mean, you could arguably call this World War 6. I mean, it goes from like technically goes from Iceland down to Oman. So I mean, that's a pretty big war. Maybe not a world war, but it's a big war. Anyway, the Unitarians are like, okay, Japan was, they just helped take down the authoritarian government, but you over here, you are like the main. You're going to be like the biggest power in this giant war for like all of Europe and the Middle East and some of Africa and some of Asia. That's not cool. So these guys get kicked out of the Unitarian Alliance. Hold on. There we go. They're like, yeah, we don't really care about that anyways, because we're going to become the old empire again. So, yeah. Anyway, the old empire is back, because why not? And we see that war is going to break out. And also this country over here joins the 3-Point Star Alliance because they want Caspia. Military alliances. Yes. There you go. So starting over here in Egypt, once Egypt, gets wind of what just happened, obviously they're going to start sending out their military, their good military, which they literally just went through this country and got sent back, and now they have to go in again. But yeah. So, but they are much stronger than the Tunisians, so this goes pretty well for them. And they also lose their capital, and yeah, they do not get completely defeated, but they are definitely not doing too great. They are also definitely being fueled by the old empire over here. Anyway, Caspia is surprisingly powerful. For this country tried invading them, but then Caspia absolutely obliterated them. I think the major city is nuked for some reason. But yeah. So then the pink team goes on and invades these guys. However, they are doing a surprisingly good defensive job. Now, this is somewhat thanks to Russia, because Russia is kind of, stretching out the pink team's military pretty thin here. As you can see. But yeah, because of that, the pink team's military is getting kind of stretched out thin here. And, yeah, the green team is actually managing to push into them. Now, we do have one thing happen, the Seafoam Siberia is here to save the day. They lost land to Russia as well, and they want that back. What is going on? But yeah, they want their land back from Russia, or at least some land. So they're going to save the entire world and join. Anyway, over here, I mean, this is just not looking good. The Dutch team over here manages to supply this Scottish country to completely obliterate the other Scottish country, as well as Ireland. So, great job there, I guess. Over here, Andalusia is obviously, well, Andalusia and France, and probably some Dutch troops. I'll go ahead and absolutely obliterate Galicia. And with that, we see that more countries have begun to drop like flies. So they are gone. They are gone. Yes. Background. Over here, the Russian puppet state goes ahead and it starts invading into Poland. However, Poland gets helped out by their old buddy here, the Farmers Union, and they actually manage to take out Russia's puppet state. So, great job, I guess. Bam. And now we see that Rome and the Dutch team, best friends forever, are going to be fighting again for the 20th time. Dutch team starts pouring into northern Italy as well as like the northern Balkans, and that's going pretty well for them. They also take Corsica and Sardinia and make some landings over here. Here, the old empire and Russia, back at it again, are going after each other. Russia starts invading into Ukraine, which goes pretty great for them. As you can see, they take out like a solid half of the country immediately. They also start going up into Finland. And yeah. They now send out a very big section of troops to go ahead and run through this empty wilderness up here because they don't like sea from Siberia invading them. So yeah, they start absolutely rolling through sea from Siberia. Over here, Norway is also getting kind of cooked by the Dutch team. They lose their capital and a decent amount of their land. Then Sweden starts rebelling. So, there we go. I love you, Sweden. Anyway, what else here? So over here, Tunisia completely dies. Rome was supporting these guys, but, in the end it was mainly just Egypt, because Egypt is pretty strong, I think. And Tunisia is not especially strong. Anyway, over here, Caspia is focused mainly on taking out this country, which goes successfully, so goodbye to them. Bam. And yeah, they are fully occupied by the green team now, who is now targeting the pink team. The pink team goes ahead and goes on the defensive here, which they are pretty good at. So they just defend their country, just turtle in. Russia starts pouring in from their sea from Siberia area, but yeah, the green team also starts greening it. Over here, Russia starts yet another front line as they now go into their puppet state and reclaim it. They then go over into Poland and obliterate them. Then start another invasion. This time it's the Farmers Union. Military alliances, goodbye. Now, all that is going fine and dandy. Thing is, though, as you can tell, Russia is, they are really spreading themselves out here. They have their front line in Finland, they have their front line in Europe, which is very giant. They have a front line with the old empire, they have a massive one in Central Asia, and it goes all the way over into, deep Siberia. And all of that is pretty not good. We see that the Russian troops are getting moved around like crazy, and it's really tiring them out. And the poor military tactics of Russia are going to kind of come on and bite them in the back. Is that the saying? Bite them in the back? I don't remember. And that is because the old empire decides that, they've had enough of Russia throughout history, and they want them dead for real this time. So, the old empire starts a massive push up into Russia, And Russia's troops are like spread out all over the place, and they're really neglecting this front line for literally being with the old empire. And Egypt is also supporting them. So Russia's a little bit stupid, maybe. The old empire also starts reclaiming or liberating some of the pink team's land, and also connecting back up with them, and trap a whole bunch of Russian soldiers in this major city after they push back the green team by a little bit, and then they all fall. Over here, the green team goes to the triangle 3-point star alliance, and they're like, we are occupying literally everything we want in this war, really. I mean, we would obviously, in a perfect world, we would want this as well. But, we are definitely fine with this. So if we are allowed to just leave the war right now, we don't really care about Russia and the Dutch team and France and Andalusia and whatever. So if you just leave us alone now, we'll just take what we have and go. The 3-point star alliance, they are up against Russia, the Dutch team, France, and Andalusia. These are some pretty powerful countries. I would say that Dutch team is probably number 1 in the world, and old empire is 2, Russia is 3. So because of how difficult this war is going to be, they are going to be accepting this deal. And so we see that the green team leaves this war with a decent amount of land under their belt. However, this frees things up for the pink team, who is now able to concentrate their entire military up here, literally doing the exact opposite of what Russia did. Over here, I mean, obviously, this land just kind of gets ceded back over to Seafilm Siberia because there's no troops here anymore. So yeah. Over in actual Europe, though, things are not going too great, mainly for Rome, who is getting absolutely obliterated. The Dutch team and Russia are focusing on a ton of their troops down here. They thought they killed Rome, but I guess not. Over here, Old Empire starts flooding their troops into Ukraine, and so all these troops now go up to the Russian capital immediately. Up here, Finland manages to make a resurgence. The Swedish up here, they do fully rebel. I mean, they lose some of this northern land, but they didn't even want this. The thing is, they aren't really pro either side. They're just using the chaos as an opportunity. So they're going to continue using the chaos as an opportunity and rebel even further. And take all of this from the Dutch team as well. The Dutch team, however, is making a substantial push up into Norway to take over all of this land, take this city, go up here, and yeah, that's not great for Norway. Over here, the Old Empire, the Pink Team, and the Sea from Siberia. Their troops are all being channeled right on into Land Marmara, so great for them. But yeah, all of their troops are being channeled up over here, and they are actually able to take the Russian capital. From then, all of their troops just kind of explode outwards and take these major cities. Then they kind of coalesce into more unified front lines, or divisions, whatever you want to call them. And they start taking these extremely vital cities. And that's not great for Russia. They completely recall their troops from the Pink Team. And this land has 0 people in it, so I mean there's the cities, but other than those cities there's no one else. It's all concentrated in the cities. And most of the cities want to be part of Sea from Siberia. So there's a lot of rebels here that are trying to join Sea from Siberia, which makes it pretty easy for them to invade. Over here, the Dutch team is still, they're, like I said, number 1 strongest country in the world, probably. And so they go ahead and they make a landing and reclaim all of Tunisia. They then start to push over into Libya and take over that entire thing. And now they start pushing over into Egypt. This is a pretty big, thing, so they are kind of pushed back by Rome just a little bit. And they are just halted up here. Sweden continues to Sweden it. And now we have Finland moving out. And Russia starts losing a bunch of their most important cities. Well, not most important. And they start losing a bunch of cities, and one of their most important cities right here, as Adis Pro himself has stated before, is under threat right now. and it gets captured. The Russian military is extremely mutinous because they just got they were going all over the place. And now, because their leaders are stupid, they are being extremely starved and hungry and all that. And so we see that Finland and, all these guys down here make a big old connection thing and split the Russians in two. The East Russians are rebelling. These guys are rebelling for the sea from Siberia. And now the Estonians are rebelling, the Polish are rebelling. Yeah. The Farmers Union makes a comeback. And things are not looking good, as Russia is reduced to just this, and eventually this falls. The Dutch team is now forced to capture and occupy these countries for themselves, which is not great for them. No. Yes. And military alliance is off. Now, the Dutch obviously just did this big old thing down here. Big old thing, whatever. And they are going to be using that because they didn't just do it for no reason. They now start a giant push over into Egypt like this, because the old empire and Egypt, they've been sending all their troops up here into Russia. So this, their actual Egypt, as well as the old empire's core territory, is actually kind of undefended. So we see that the Dutch team make it to the Suez Canal, and from there they start two groups. They split into two groups. One group goes on down and captures the entire Egyptian coast, and the other starts beelining it straight. Well, they take over the Sinai Peninsula first, but then they start beelining it straight for the old empire's capital. And that's not great. Over in Europe, they're actually doing pretty good in Europe now. Even though they are forced to be controlling all these countries for themselves, they're doing a decent job at it. They start moving into Russian. They start moving over into Russian territory and capturing that. They start moving back into Sweden. Norway gets pushed back even further, and they lose their last major city, which is not great. They then go down to the Roman capital, as well as just take the entire Adriatic Sea, and they kill a whole bunch of Romans because, well, they hate the Romans. And now we see that a giant battle starts with this. Well, first of all, this group over here manages, because this is most of the Dutch's military down here. This is well, maybe not most, but this is a good half of the Dutch military here. So 1/4 in Egypt and 1/4 in the Old Empire. So Egypt falls, and then we see a giant battle take place for the Old Empire's capital, but the Old Empire, who has finally recalled all of its troops with all of its national unity and all that, manages to push back the Dutch team. So the Dutch team's front line over here crumbles, and that's a little bit of an issue. Let's go ahead and bring back Egypt's color. Bam, bam, bam. Because now the Old Empire starts to liberate Egypt. Like so. The Dutch team plus, their allies over here start one giant final push over into Eastern Europe. They take the capital of the Farmers Union. They take practically all of Rome except for their little base down here in formerly Greece. Start moving across Russia. They move up into this area. And this giant sort of operation occurs, and they actually manage to cut down here. So now the 3-point Star Alliance members here can't just send troops like this. They can only go like this and this and all that, which is pretty annoying to them. But now with all these troops coming in, and we also have a lot of volunteers from South China and Korea and all that, and you'll see that a giant pushback gets made as we see that these countries start to be liberated or conquered, like in the case of this one. Well, no, it should be this. The Farmers Union manages to come back and take that little thing, so that immediately ends that plan. They start pushing them all the way back to here. The Romans, who are very nationalistic, also start an uprising in the city. And then the military of like Marmara comes on in, our goat Marmara, and they start actually like liberating Rome, who is now literally just Greece, which is very interesting. Egypt starts doing their thing with some help from the old empire, probably some help from West Africa as well. I would imagine they've been like fueling Egypt a little bit because they want in exchange for like some of Tunisia's land. We see that the Roman is kind of like World War II in our timeline, with the giant invasion of southern Italy up here. It goes pretty well. We see the recapture of the Roman capital, and all of this. Rome is fully liberated. And yeah, things are not looking good for the Dutch team now. They get pushed out of Norway. Sweden makes a peace deal with Norway, so now they agree just to let them have this. Maybe like a little bit less up here, because I don't even think Sweden really wants that. And now we see that the Dutch team they're about to do something in Iceland over here. Thing is that one Norwegian general decided to invade Iceland. Now the rest of the Norwegian generals told him that it's kind of going to be pointless, but they said it would be a good base of operations. This one general goes over here. They enter Iceland, march through its rural areas, and they find a whole bunch of Dutch military people who are preparing to use the NNHRBs, which are being stored in Iceland, if I remember correctly. So obviously they put a stop to that, and yeah, they now have possession of those. However, they still need to fully replicate their technology or whatever it was. I kind of forget how the lore went, but something like that. So nothing's happening yet, but you have that. And you see that this gigantic push starts getting made from over here, although there's not that much resistance, to be fair. The Polish are being liberated, as well as the Danish. The Romans start to do their thing, going up here, as well as down here. Conquer France, and remember, this being fueled by a bunch of countries. So they take over most of southern France, them, and with a whole bunch of West African troops who also are doing this in exchange for some land from Andalusia. Manage to take out Andalusia, and then liberate the Galatians, whatever they are. Over here, the Irish, I don't really have their color, but we'll just say it's that. They rebel, and they take over this little Scottish country here, and then move over into actual mainland Scotland, I guess. And now they start pushing into the British Isles, or they start pushing into Britain. They are part of the British Isles. They move over into Doggerland, where a lot of uprisings are happening, and take advantage of that. France gets capitulated, and we now see a mad dash that's made for the Dutch capital, where the Dutch military has retreated to. So all the Dutch military is in the Dutch capital. Over there is a ton of troops there. There is an unimaginable number of troops here, and this is the biggest battle imaginable, and nothing is working at all until the Norwegians, who took over Iceland, finally get the NHRB technology ready, and blam. Oh, blam. And now, that would have been cooler if it was it took all of, bam. Yeah, there we go. The Dutch are absolutely obliterated by it. And with that, I believe we have the death of the Star Alliance. Now, we get to see, well, I first have to make the peace treaty. Okay, finally, in this peace treaty, a lot has happened. So, first of all, just going to start down here. Egypt took over a nice chunk out of Libya. Also, we can see that West Africa got a lot of land out of Tunisia and some pretty good land out of Andalusia. So that deal they made with Egypt was probably pretty big. So like they were probably also on the 3-point star alliance practically. Andalusia lost land to Galicia. This country, Catalonia, got released. France didn't get hit too hard other than that though. Over here, that beige, that cyan country here, got brought back and was also given that like dark red country. They formed like the new Italian Union. You know, this one, the green country's is X, and now it's with the dark red one. And then HRB created a nice new lake up here. The remnants of the Dutch got split into these two French countries. Germany got brought back, although I think I will make them a little bit smaller because right now they are gargantuan. I mean, it's Germany. I don't think they'd be this big. Bam. Okay. But yeah, Germany exists again. The Dutch team. Well, first of all, the Dutch team still exists a little bit, so let's fix that. Yeah, Danzig's independent. Ireland got divided up. I did not do these capitals because I could not be bothered. But Ireland is all one country. I mean, if you're really going to complain, I guess we can make them one. Fine. Bam, 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 bam. Bam, 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 bam. There. Sweden is independent. Over here, Russia got obliterated. The pink team is very long now. Looks pretty terrible, but oh well. Green team's deal. They're definitely glad they made that deal. They are like back to having an empire now. Rome was forced to unadopt their neo-authoritarianism because they don't want that anymore. So neo-authoritarianism is officially dead. The old empire actually didn't even get that much land. They got a little bit out of Russia. So did Ukraine, plus the Sea of Azov country. The pink team they united with Eastern Russia, basically. We had the St. Petersburg country and Estonia reappear. Finland got land back. These guys got a ton of land. These guys got made independent again. And the rest of Russia was, well, really, this is what was left of Russia. Then got split into two, being the old northern Russian country, as well as this old one. And Iceland's back. And I believe that is it. And to be fair, this might actually be the last video I ever make on Aegis Pros WICSO, because, I don't want to milk it. So, I just wanted to get this one out of the way, because I had this idea of what if World War VI never happened. The alternates just didn't exist. And then Red Australia sinks to the bottom of the ocean.